a very, very funny man. He used to have a beard. He does not anymore. I miss the beard. But he looks all right. He looks 20 years younger than when I saw him 2 weeks ago. He is Mr. Joe Elliott.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah. All right. Wow. Well, fantastic. Okay. Okay, I want to clear something up just before we even get started. We're not raising money for AIDS. Okay? Like, whenever there's an AIDS-related charity benefit, somebody inevitably says, like, we're raising money for AIDS. Come out. No, it's AIDS is a disease. It doesn't need money. We're raising money for the North Alabama chapter of the AIDS Action Coalition. You know, they help people who are infected with AIDS get the support that they need. You know, it's a devastating disease. They do good work. Give it up for yourselves for being here and supporting the cause. I saw people being very generous earlier tonight. And because I know what you're thinking, like, why should we give money to people infected with AIDS? They're just going to spend it on drugs. Yes, absolutely. Life-saving medications, and you're doing a great thing in doing that. I should apologize. I crashed this party. Like, when the lineup came out, I was not on it. Nick Perez, a very funny local comedian, he's supposed to be here right now, but he normally works Fridays, and, you know, he's a good friend of mine. I was talking to him, and I was like, oh, well, if you can't make it, like, can I take your slot? Because I need shows, you know. And then the person that put it together, give it up for Tammy Bucky for putting the whole thing, organizing the event. It's fantastic. Tammy and I are hashtag best girlfriends, you know, like, we're very close. And so, you know, I just came to her, I was like, hey, Nick can't make it, can I take his slot? You know, and she was like, okay. And like, I was a little hurt that I wasn't on the bill because we were so close. I was like, I wanted to do this show, but I held it inside, you know. And so later in that afternoon, she's giving me a ride somewhere, and she's talking to me about, like, I'd like to have a barbecue this summer, you know, have a little party. And like, because the only kind of aggressive that I subscribe to is passive, my response to that was like, oh, that sounds really nice. So are you going to invite me, or are you just going to invite Nick Perez, and I'm going to have to take his place? Yeah, I'm a terrible person. My name is Joel Elliott. Elliott is spelled with 2 L's and 2 T's. You can look me up on Twitter. We can have fun there. It'll be great. Hypothetically, if I was to say to you, hi, straight to ale, the proper response would be, hi, Joel, hypothetically. Hi, straight to ale. Hi, Joel. Okay, so hypothetically, if I was to say to you, how do you describe pi to the 6th decimal place? The proper response would be 3.141592, hypothetically. So, straight to ale, how do you describe pi to the 6th decimal place? Oh, okay. Believe me, I feel you on the what the fuck. But no, Huntsville is such a nerdy town that, like, some of the people don't need prompting typically. I know Matthew Tate knows it till, like, 10 decimal places. It's crazy. But no, I love how nerdy this town is. And you know, you gather enough people together, and like one person invariably in the audience, when I do that bit, says, if you rounded properly, wouldn't it be 3.141593? You know, but I don't know how numbers work. I speak well. I don't do maths good. Like, comedy is my thing. But I love the nerdiness of Huntsville. Like, it is such a neat city. Like, I saw the Green Power Ranger jogging in a circle in the parking lot of the mall. And it doesn't happen where I grew up, you know. Like, I've seen, there are young women walking around town in public dressed like cats. Like, the costume thing is so popular here that on any given day of the year, you know, they're wearing a little furry hat with the ears and the paws and a little tail. It's, I hate to admit it, like, when I first moved down here, somebody at the county line stopped me and was like, hey, is there anything that we could do to make your stay here in this city more delightful? You know, like, could some of the girls, like, just walk around dressed like cats in public? That would be delightful. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's pleasing to me. You know, I feel like you know a little too much about me already, but here's a little more about me. I grew up in the city of Baltimore, Maryland. Not a great city. Like, okay, Huntsville is Rocket City because you kidnap Germans and make them teach you how to... It's not a secret. They named the convention all after them. But, you know, like, you know, you guys build rockets, and so it's Rocket City. You know, Baltimore, like, our main industry is, like, you know, we've got like, a lot of litter in the streets and people shooting people over small amounts of narcotics. And so we called it Charm City because we didn't know what to call that. But yeah, Baltimore is Charm City. So much. Okay, like you guys have been to Birmingham, right? Yeah, anybody's been to Birmingham? Okay, Baltimore is like Birmingham only with a crime problem. If that gives you a sense of how it is, like it's not good there, The only two television shows that I can think of that were filmed in Baltimore are Homicide, Life in the Streets, which is about homicide and life on the streets, and The Wire, which is about like street drugs and homicide. I mean, like Baltimore doesn't have a good reputation. It was neat when the film crews were there, because Baltimore, our industry is people shooting people. When the film crews were there, it was people shooting people, reenacting shooting people. It was so neat. And at one point, one of the guys on The Wire, one of the crew got shot. And so it was people, reenacting shooting people, which is just, that's awesome. And that's not true. Nobody on The Wire got shot, but I wanted an excuse to say people, reenacting shooting people, and that was very pleasing for me. So thank you for that. I moved from Baltimore City up to Pennsylvania, and like South Central Pennsylvania. I don't know if you've heard the quote from the political pundit James Carville, but like Pennsylvania is Pittsburgh on the left and Philadelphia on the right and Alabama in the middle. That's what he says. But now that I've been down here for a while, like when I was living in Pennsylvania, I went from Baltimore to Pennsylvania, and it was like, wow, like more rebel flags there I see in like a week than I've seen in a year and a half down here. Like it is country in South Central Pennsylvania. I think they need to change the phrase. I think they need to say that Alabama is Huntsville in the north and Birmingham in the middle and Pennsylvania everywhere else. Because I ran into people in Pennsylvania that were like, the South will rise again. And I'm like, but do you realize the Mason-Dixon line is like 13 miles that way? Like it's not... You're not in the South. Like, maybe you should go. But yeah, so in Pennsylvania, I met a girl, and we had this intense relationship to start, and then it got like, she was very intensely loving, and then she got like angry and controlling and manipulative, and kept switching back and forth. So I did the only sensible thing, and I married her, and stayed with her for like 9 years, and then in the later stages of that relationship, her company moved her to Huntsville, Alabama, and I did the only sensible thing and came with her, and so okay, the marriage flamed out, and I ended up at the end of the divorce just kind of living in the street, which I hate that phrase because that sounds like I'm Jizza from Wu-Tang. I lived in the streets of Huntsville, Alabama. Like if it was back home, yeah, I get that, but no, that's Huntsville, it's pretty tame. But yeah, like okay, you guys have been to Big Spring Park? I used to live there. It was great. Yeah, the bench by the pump house was all worn out because some idiot was living there for a couple of months. But yeah, so I was doing comedy while I was living on the streets, and so I got this reputation as like the homeless guy comic, like I'm a homeless guy and whatnot, and I'm a divorced male who's starting over a new life in a strange town, so it's like, trying to meet new people and whatnot, and that reputation is not helping, I have to say. Like, okay, quick poll. Ladies, round of applause if you've ever thought to yourself, if I could just find the right homeless guy. See, yeah, exactly. Like it's not been going well so far. I've been meeting new people. Like I introduced myself to a girl after a show at one point, and I knew she had seen me like do the show, and so like I knew she had at least heard my last name, and I'm awkward, so I'm just trying to angle for her to look me up on Facebook, and I'm like. You remember what my last name is? And she said, yeah, it's the homeless guy, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, off to a good start. But so we went out a couple of times, and she sent a message after a few days of, yeah, actually, this is going to be a busy month. And I was like, oh, okay, I know what that means. That means call back when you're interesting, like, because that's one step away from, like, it's going to be a busy year, like, it's, oh, no, 2016 is going to be busy, it's coming back in 17. But, yeah, another like, failed meeting happened actually just a week ago right out here. Have you guys been to Homegrown Comedy? They have it at Straight to Ale now. Anybody been? You should come, okay? Watch on Facebook, look up Homegrown Comedy. There will be a show in a few weeks or so. right here. I was out there during that show, and I was talking to a young lady, and we were talking, and it was fine, and it was going pretty well. And one of the comics came over, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, do you know about a year ago it was a whole different for him? Like, do you want to tell her, or shall I?" You know, I was like, "You go ahead." You know, he was like, "Yeah, this guy, he was a homeless guy. He was a homeless comic and whatnot, you know." And so we talked then for like another 30 seconds, and she was like, "Well, I gotta go to the bathroom," and you know. And it was out of there. So I don't know. It's a long road. We're working on it, and it's great that you guys come out to support these shows because the comedy scene is doing a lot of good work. Go to hsvcomedy.com and look for other shows in the area and come out to them. It would be great. Give it up for Tammy Bucky once again for organizing the event. Right. Give it up for the North Alabama chapter of the AIDS Action Coalition for helping the community. Give it up for them. Give it up for your host, Archie Shea, who I'm bringing up to the stage. Give it up for giving up on giving it up because it's starting to get really annoying right now. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, you guys have been great. I, on the other hand, have been Joel Elliott.
Joel Elliott.